trying to find out what happened.
Okay, wasn't you just talking to her? Can she provide all them information to you?
Well, let me ask you this. I was just talking to her. What if she told me that you beat the out of her and you jumped on top of her and started punching her in the face? Should I just go ahead and take that?
Okay, but don't you know?
It's your side of the story. Give your side.
All these prescriptions, but you want to be great. Being great is really pushing the envelope. You know what I'm saying?
Gervonta Davis has finally broken his silence following reports of his recent arrest and the cancellation of his upcoming fight with Jake Paul. Tank is now facing a new civil lawsuit involving serious domestic violence allegations. So far, his team and coach have made only brief public comments, while Jake Paul's November 14th event hangs in uncertainty as promoters continue to investigate.
He's a lightweight. So, by all means, if they make a few quid and nobody gets hurt, then great. But I certainly wouldn't be paying a penny to watch it. I think it's just absolutely ridiculous, farcical. Who wants to watch an exhibition? Gervonta Davis is in his prime years. Why is he wasting his time? Why is he not having a rematch with the fella he got a draw with? Why is he not fighting? Why is he not going up a weight and fighting Lopez and Garcia's and them fighters? Why is he fighting Jake Paul in an exhibition? I get the money's great, but he's in the prime years. This is his best year. This is where he can become. Maybe you don't want to be an all-time great. Maybe you don't want to do all that. So maybe you just want.
A civil lawsuit filed in Miami-Dade accuses Gervonta Davis of battery, aggravated battery, false imprisonment, kidnapping, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. These allegations, if proven true, could have major legal and career consequences for the boxer. According to recent reports, this remains a civil matter for now, with no new criminal charges filed in connection to the complaint.
WBC lightweight world champion Gervonta Tank Davis was arrested earlier this week for closed fist slapping his daughter's mother. What's a closed fist slap? Is it like this? Bro, you can't be closed fist slapping women. You can't be slapping women at all. But don't you know your hand is like Thor's hammer? Bro, you can go to jail for even flicking somebody, man. Don't you got a fight coming up? Or are you trying to ruin your career?
At the moment, Gervonta Davis hasn't released a detailed public statement addressing his side of the story. Instead, the first reaction came from his inner circle. His coach said Davis is doing fine and that they're still trying to understand the situation. A brief, cautious comment meant to keep the boxer away from the media spotlight while his legal and promotional teams handle the details. Jake Paul's Most Valuable Promotions confirmed that it has launched an internal investigation following the lawsuit. In their statement, they condemned any form of violence, explained that they are collecting all the facts, and said a decision on next steps will come after a full review. That means the fight technically remains on the schedule but could be postponed or cancelled depending on what the investigation reveals. According to inside sources, however, the November 14th event is most likely cancelled rather than delayed. As journalist Dame Mara posted on X, I'm hearing it's being postponed. Not sure of the date, but I'm about 80% certain the November 14th event is cancelled. Originally, the fight was planned to take place in Atlanta at State Farm Arena, but the final venue was set for Miami, a perfect mix for today's attention-driven sports world, a social media star versus a seasoned prizefighter, where viral hype meets classic boxing power.
When a fairly novice Jake Paul made a wish list of future opponents, and right in the middle of that list was Gervonta Tank Davis. Many laughed at the time, and some still can't believe we're here. But these two young men are the face of boxing for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. They are the two biggest boxers in America, and they are putting it all on the line. One has the speed, the skill, the accuracy, and the one-punch knockout power. The other has the size, the force, and the unbreakable confidence to make this must-see Netflix. The size difference is
The rules and setup added even more intrigue to the matchup. Gervonta Davis, a lightweight champion who usually competes between 135 and 140 pounds, was set to face Jake Paul, who has been fighting in the cruiserweight range. During the press conference, it was revealed that the fight would have an upper weight limit of 195 pounds and use 12-ounce gloves, among other conditions. Davis openly questioned the rule set and the size difference, while the unusual nature of the fight and its heavy promotion promised to make it one of the most talked about events of the year, potentially a complete sellout.
Watch is Tank Davis versus Jake Paul, I want Tank Davis to knock his block off. I'm sick of the Paul brothers, both of them. I can't stand either one of them. And I know I'll get pounded with emails. You're just jealous. No, I'm not jealous of them. I could care less how much money they make. I don't like their attitude. I don't like the way they conduct themselves. I don't like the way they think, you know.
Boxing fans across social media have grown increasingly skeptical of Gervonta Davis, accusing him of avoiding top-tier opponents like Shakur Stevenson and Teofimo Lopez in favor of a more profitable matchup with Jake Paul. Many argue that Davis's recent choices are being driven more by financial gain than by the pursuit of genuine athletic competition.
We wouldn't go ever fight no Shakur Stevenson, no Keyshawn Davis, no Teofimo Lopez, no none of them dudes. You know what I'm talking about? We gotta think and look at Tank Davis's whole career. He done made some bread, but at the end of the day, all that bread that he made, when it's all said and done, he ain't gonna get no respect from his peers, because we gonna look down his resume and we gonna be like, he was trash, he was some trash, he was some trash, he was alright, but he was never like that. He was okay, he was some trash, he was some trash.
Initially, Gervonta Davis and Lamont Roach were set for a rematch after their first fight ended in a controversial majority draw. The plan was for Davis to settle unfinished business and solidify his legacy with a clear victory in the second bout. However, when the opportunity to face Jake Paul arose, offering a massive payday and global attention, Davis's team quickly shifted direction. Reports indicate that Davis could earn around $50 million from the Paul fight. While commentator Stephen A. Smith didn't directly criticize the move, he did note how it reflects the changing landscape of modern boxing, where legacy-defining matchups often take a backseat to celebrity-driven events that generate huge pay-per-view numbers. For Davis, the fight with Jake Paul isn't just about proving his talent, it's also about expanding his reach to a worldwide audience beyond traditional boxing fans.
He's in a division where he's got killers all in his division. You know, Shakur, Haney, who's 147. You know, you look at Teo, for example, Keyshawn, and then you choose to fight someone like Paul. Surely that's a concern when you do look at it like that.
Yeah, but again, it's the world we're in. If you can get a huge amount of money to fight someone who's never boxed, really, before, you're going to do it. You know, Floyd Mayweather boxed Logan Paul with a huge weight disparity.
He was done by then. He was done. Like, this is an active world champion.
But it's the world we're in.
Yeah.
And that's the truth. You know, when it comes down to it. It's just like Conor McGregor fighting Floyd Mayweather. Two completely different sports. Was the biggest pay-per-view in recent times, wasn't it? Maybe if ever.
Those are like different comparisons, though, if you think about it. Do you not like?
Yeah, but the sport's in a wild place, isn't it? That's like, I'm just like the reality of where we are, you know. And I can't really say much when we're talking about Jake Paul fighting Anthony Joshua at the same time. You know.
Do you think Tank should get stripped of his title?
Yeah, I think anyone who, just in general, doesn't defend their title to do something else should get stripped, because it shouldn't hold the belts up. You know, in any, like, I think that should be the reality in anything. You know, if you're not going to defend your belts, or you're not defending, sometimes there's the rules, obviously, if you fight for a belt at a higher weight, you can retain the belt until there. But if you're not, don't have intention of defending the belts, you shouldn't hold the belts up. People should get the opportunity to fight for them.
What happened with the failed negotiations between AJ and Jake Paul?
I think anything's still possible. That was always discussed for next year. You know, this fight's November, early part of next year.
Former world champion Carl Froch didn't hold back, calling the entire situation an absolute joke. According to Froch, talks for a Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua fight were nearly finalized, reportedly 99% done, before Paul switched course to face Gervonta Davis, a fighter literally half his size. Froch found the move ridiculous and said it clearly shows that Jake Paul is chasing attention rather than real competition. His comments reflect what many in the boxing world have been saying: Paul carefully picks opponents who guarantee maximum publicity with minimal risk. A fight against Joshua would have been a massive and dangerous test, but choosing Davis turns it into more of a spectacle than a sporting challenge.
But the fight against Jake Paul ain't going to happen anyway. It ain't going to happen. We can all believe it. Jake Paul.
Eddie Hearn said it's 99% done.
Because you know what? Jake Paul's done a great job in hustling Eddie. Yeah. He's going to get so either Eddie's in on it or he's let this young man hustling. Yeah. And so the kids kidded the kidders.
Well, listen, we've had a chat, we've caught up. We'll have another chat as well in a.
I'm going to do some sunbathing, man.
Days, bit of sunbathing. Top up the town.
Yes, I baby.
Might as well.
Black is the number.
Let us know in the comments below who you think wins the fight and what Anthony Joshua should be doing next. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Let us know in the comments below. This has been another episode of Froch on Fighting. Got the main man here, Johnny Nelson, aka
Blick Man.
We'll see. He said it, not me. We'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
Just here at Los Naranjos in Viva, España, and I found out that Gervonta Davis is now fighting Jake Paul. So Jake Paul was supposed to be fighting AJ. Eddie Hearn announced 99% done, which we've just spoke about. What next for AJ? Potentially Jake Paul. But it now looks like that Jake Paul is fighting one of Anthony Joshua's legs. He's fighting Gervonta Davis, somebody who's a quarter of his size. I don't even know what's going on. Has Eddie Hearn been playing?
Meanwhile, Nikisa Bidarian, co-founder of Most Valuable Promotions, has confidently dismissed concerns about Jake Paul's size advantage over Gervonta Davis. He argued that size won't determine the outcome against a fighter as skilled as Davis, explaining that Paul only needed the heavier catchweight because of his relative inexperience. Bidarian also revealed that the Paul vs. Davis fight wasn't a sudden idea. It had been in development for quite some time, especially after a proposed matchup with Canelo Alvarez fell through. According to him, Davis had been pushing for the fight for years, and once the Canelo deal collapsed, the opportunity to make the Tank fight finally opened up.
I think are gonna happen November 14th.
Whatever weight they want, man, they're talking about it, and whatever it is, there's gonna be a definitive outcome. People can talk about pro, exhibition. We're gonna make sure this is as real as it's real.
Why was it, just out of curiosity, why is it not a professional bout and why is it an exhibition? Because I'm sure Jake would have taken the professional bout.
Nothing's been communicated as yet in terms of what it is, right? Similar to, if you remember with Paul Tyson, when we announced it, we didn't have the weight, we didn't have the rules, particularly in terms of the number of rounds, the minutes, the gloves. It's gonna be the same thing here.
Gotcha. Can you just offer us any insight as to how these negotiations went? The reason I ask is because I remember back in March, I was at Tank's fight, and after his fight in his press conference, he was asked, next opponent. He said, well, my next opponent might have been in my locker room tonight, and people asked him, was it Jake? He made reference, he made allusion to. Has this been an ongoing thing, and has it ever, been at a point where it wasn't gonna happen and came back, or was this always the plan?
Always been the plan for Jake to fight Tank once Canelo didn't happen. And to Tank's credit, he's a real bad dude, and he's been calling out Jake for 3 years. And people, it's funny how now they're saying size matters, Jake is big, when for so long it's been Tank would kill Jake Paul. Now you get to.
Bidarian acknowledged that the size difference between Jake Paul and Gervonta Davis is undeniable. Paul is significantly heavier, taller, and has a longer reach. However, he believes Davis's superior skill and experience more than make up for those physical disadvantages. Tank has been a decorated professional for over a decade, competing at lightweight, capturing multiple world titles, and building an almost spotless record filled with knockouts. He's proven his adaptability, speed, elite timing, and ability to hurt opponents in a variety of ways. Paul, on the other hand, while improving with each fight, has yet to face anyone close to Davis's level of skill and pedigree.
Obvious, but so is the skill and experience difference. One man has been doing this for 23 years, since the age of 7. The other picked up the sport 5 years ago and has virtually no amateur experience. So the size difference is what makes this plausible. The king of the jungle here is Tank Davis. He is the lion, taking on the young elephant that is Jake Paul. The lion is looking at me like he's about to eat me. The lion is fast, he's fierce, and he's fatal when he strikes. But the young elephant is big, powerful, and hard to knock down. And come Friday, November 14th, the jungle will be set in tropical Miami, Florida, and the world will be watching live.
On the other hand, critics like Joe Rogan admit that Jake Paul has brought a younger audience to boxing, generating excitement that traditional promoters often struggle to create. However, Rogan questions whether Jake is truly ready to face a seasoned, prime fighter like Gervonta Davis. The truth is that Jake's biggest wins have come against opponents who were either retired, coming from other sports, or past their peak. Davis, by contrast, represents elite speed, knockout accuracy, and years of high-level professional experience. Rogan wonders whether Jake's business success and online fame can protect him from the harsh reality of the ring, a place where no followers or cameras can take the punches for him. While Rogan respects Jake's courage for taking the fight, he believes this matchup will finally test him against a young, dangerous opponent who's still at the height of his powers.
10 fights, like, what if Jake Paul knocks one of them out? Like, what if you get a guy that, like, hasn't been tested and maybe has some promise and maybe gets wrapped up in the hype and maybe gets a little nervous, and this is his first chance at a big show, and Jake Paul can crack.
Yeah.
100%. That knockout of Tyron Woodley is legit as fuck. He can crack.
But Eddie's point in that interview, and I think the point that just about every boxing aficionado would say, is that
Pauli Malignaggi, the former two-division world champion and boxing analyst, admitted he never saw this matchup coming. For him, the announcement came completely out of left field and shocked the boxing world. While Jake Paul has made headlines before by facing unconventional opponents, pairing him against a lightweight like Gervonta Davis still caught many, including Malignaggi, off guard. He called it an unpredictable move that demonstrates how far Jake is willing to push the limits of modern matchmaking. Malignaggi stressed that despite Jake's size advantage, Davis's experience and skill remain on another level. He praised Davis's legendary career, built through years of dominance and discipline, noting how much he has contributed to the sport. Malignaggi also reminded fans not to overlook Davis's legacy, emphasizing that his accomplishments continue to shape boxing at its highest level.
To lose because he's the bona fide world champion. I don't care if he's much smaller. I think Jake Paul has sort of plateaued as far as where his boxing is concerned. It's rather low level. Yeah. He's big, he's physical, he's strong, he can hit. So there is that risk. Davis, at lightweight, you're in a moment where it's too physical for you, you can clinch. Against the heavyweight, where you clinch, you ain't getting out of that corner just clinching anymore if you run out of space. You know what I mean? So it's interesting. But Davis, listen, there's a lot of talking points that I'm sure we'll get into when this gets closer to the fight. Davis can still punch at lightweight. Can he drop a heavyweight? There's a lot to gain there, right? If Davis knocks,
the answer is yes.
If Davis drops Jake on his ass, as much as Davis is the one with more to lose, it's still a highlight moment.
A visual that will stay forever.
Yeah, but if you get dropped, even if you're smaller, you're still a world champion in multiple weight classes. If you get dropped, what's the look? What's the feel? On the inside, as boxers, me and Chris Algieri, the champ, even you, Jimmy, you have fight experience, so we know that the risk is a big guy that big hits you. You're probably going down if you're a small guy, if he hits you clean. So we know the risk, but how does it look to the public eye who don't understand that? You know what I mean? The public. So there is a lot to lose, though. There's a bit to gain. I wouldn't necessarily have an issue with this had Davis's career arc been one that benefited boxing. Davis was manufactured and put into a position where he's supposed to benefit boxing, and I don't think he has. I think he's hurt boxing. So by giving him this reward, that's my problem. Why are we watching this? Why don't you make him earn his spot?
In contrast to Pauli Malignaggi's view, one of Jake Paul's former sparring partners has come forward with a blunt and honest prediction, claiming that Gervonta Davis hits far too hard for Jake to handle. He explained that while Jake's confidence comes from knocking out older boxers and former MMA fighters, that self-belief won't save him against someone like Davis. According to him, when Gervonta lands a punch, he doesn't just score, he causes real damage. The former partner believes Jake will quickly realize he's stepped into a level far beyond his current experience. While many in the boxing world respect Jake's courage and willingness to take big risks, this insider warned that every risk has its breaking point, and Tank Davis, he said, asterisk is asterisk the breaking point.
And like every single time, people said that Jake would get finished or he would lose a fight, he obviously proved everybody wrong. But I genuinely believe this time, I think that, with Gervonta's boxing IQ and him having Jake come down a little bit in weight, I think Gervonta will beat him, honestly. I think Gervonta will hurt him. I think he'll just use IQ. He'll tire him out a little bit. And, I think he'll land. Gervonta knows how to touch his opponents. But it's interesting because when Floyd fought Logan, the size really, really made a big, impact. And you saw Floyd struggle, against a big, Ohio corn-fed, wrestling strong dude. And, I've sparred Jake and Logan before, and, they train hard.
You're picking Tank by knockout?
Look, I sparred them years ago.
Daniel Cormier, the UFC legend turned boxing analyst, shared a fresh perspective on Jake Paul's rise in the sport. Cormier pointed out that Paul's high-profile, spectacle-driven fight with Mike Tyson on Netflix set a new standard for entertainment in combat sports. He argued that while many still see Paul as merely a social media personality, his improving skills, disciplined training approach, and willingness to take real risks in the ring prove he's more than that. For Cormier, Jake Paul is redefining how boxing connects with the mainstream audience, and that, in itself, is a form of success.
Twice, big numbers. Jake Paul fought against Tommy Fury, big numbers. Jake Paul, who I believe, and I have told you guys this time and time again, he's much better than people give him credit for. One, Jake Paul is not an amateur fighter, like some try to say. Jake Paul has money, so Jake Paul is getting trained by the best boxing coaches that money can buy. He's full-time boxing. There are a lot of people that say he may do some other stuff. I don't know who he was gonna fight that was saying that he was juiced up and he was ignoring him. Or was it Logan Paul? One of them. But at the end of the day, this kid's training to be the best fighter in the world, or the best as he can be, and he understands what losing would do to the perception of who he is in fighting. We were yelling so much about him fighting someone. Fight somebody your size. Fight somebody, a real boxer. Stop fighting MMA guys. There were so many things that people were mad about in regards to his level of competition and the people he was competing against. Well, today we learned that Jake Paul has his next opponent. His next opponent is by far the most credentialed guy.
Do you think the Jake Paul versus Gervonta Davis fight is collapsing because of low fan demand, or is this all part of a calculated business strategy? Share your thoughts in the comments below.